I'm going to go through with you today how to put your vitiligo into remission, how I've done this for over 50 people, and I am going to answer your questions that you guys posted earlier, so I'm happy to help you guys. But first of all, I want to show you the possibilities. This is my website and some of the success stories I've had, just to give you guys a little hope with it. This woman here actually had vitiligo. Her entire side was depigmented. And you can see how much has come back. I wish I had a before picture for this, and I apologize that I don't. She didn't have one, but she did write me a beautiful testimonial, 60% repigmentation. I work with other skin issues too, so you can see here, if any of you have psoriasis, you can see I've had a lot of success with that as well. But I wanted to show you, here's one of my clients here who is quite depigmented. If you look, he had very blotchy skin, some melasma, some vitiligo, and you can see on the right his after picture. That was probably about 6 or 7 months work with him to get that kind of repigmentation and even out his pigment. And here's the boy I worked with. He was only 4 years old at the time. And you can see on the right side is his before picture, quite depigmented on his knee, and on the left side is about 6 months progress, and you can see he is in full remission now, from what I understand. I haven't spoke to him in a little while. It was a couple Halloweens ago when we were working together. But anyway, so you can get the idea of what is possible. Now, I wanted to go through with you some of the questions and what I use to help people repigment. I did a video in this group a couple years ago when I was first starting out with this, and I'd had some success. And I want to tell you what got me into it really briefly first. I had an autoimmune skin disease myself that I suffered with for about 20 years, 19 years to be exact. And I was covered with hives. It's called chronic urticaria. And it was painful. I couldn't sleep. I had hives all over my skin. I was scratching myself till I bled, and I couldn't stop scratching. And I couldn't sleep most nights because I was covered with them. And I couldn't walk most days, not most days, but a lot of days I couldn't walk because they were on the bottom of my feet. So it was quite debilitating for me. And I went to a lot of Western medicine practitioners who were very well-meaning, but they really couldn't help me. They didn't really have the tools that I have now to help me. So I went on a lot of medications, including prednisone, and I really got no relief. It was just, there was nothing that helped. I went on a bunch of antihistamines. I went on a lot of medications. So when I started cleaning up my diet a little bit, I noticed that my hives weren't breaking out as much, and that started me down this kind of rabbit hole of looking into what else can I do that would affect this. And actually, about 5 years ago, I decided to start over in a different career. I went back and learned about nutrition and did a board certification in functional medicine. And since then, I've diseases, anything that people come to me with, depression, anxiety, asthma, allergies, ADD, gastrointestinal issues, just about anything, chronic pain. And a woman came to me about 4 years ago with vitiligo, and I'd hardly heard of the disease except for when, Michael Jackson had it. And she asked me if I could help her. And I said, gee, I'll give it a shot. I know it's autoimmune. I'm sure that I could probably help. I can't guarantee anything. And she says, I'm willing to try. Now, she had about 2/3 of her skin depigmented, and her skin was on the darker side. She had beautiful skin, but it was very depigmented and very noticeable. And it was very much standing in the way of her social life and how she felt about herself too. She was 32 years old. She had had it since she was 8 years old. So, so we worked together for about 8 or 9 months. And during that time, I couldn't believe it. I mean, we kept trying and trying. And one day she just sent me a picture of her arm. I wish I still had the picture. I have to find it, but her arm it was just completely depigmented. It started, her pigment started coming back, and like in a big way. And she couldn't even talk to me. She was crying so hard. It was a very emotional moment for both of us. I was just like, wow, this is really possible. And so I posted the pictures, the progress pictures, I think on my social media or somewhere. And I had a lot of people contact me saying, gee, I have vitiligo too. Can you help me? And I said, yes, I can do my best. And since then I've worked with about 56 people, I think, who have had vitiligo with varying degrees of success. I'll be completely honest with you. But for each and every one of them that follows the protocol, I've been able to put them into remission, which means that the disease does not progress. Now, all but maybe a couple outliers that maybe didn't want to work more on this, because there's a lot to it. There's a lot of things that cause vitiligo, a lot of kind of a recipe, if you will, that causes it. So, I have to make sure that I'm covering everything. And sometimes we have to dig down different rabbit holes. And sometimes if it's like a teenager that may not be ready to follow the dietary restrictions and things that we have to do, that I'm not going to get results for. They have to, whoever works with me has to be really committed. And I want to say that functional medicine, like I said, we get to the root cause of diseases. And so this is a intense training program that I went through. I literally went through it for 5 years. I am a teaching assistant for the school now, but it's like a couple of years of really intense study, thousands of hours of research and study. So the problem is, some of you may have gone to functional practitioners and not had as much success. And it's not that they're bad. It's just they may not have all the tools that applied functional medicine. So I really learned how to apply it to my practice at a school that has a board certification in functional medicine. The problem is some functional practitioners may have done a 5-day intensive training at Institute for Functional Medicine, IFM, and it's great training, but it's 5 days and it's not enough. But they can call themselves a functional medicine practitioner. They may be good, they may not be good. You don't know what you're getting. So the school I went to, I think the practitioners that graduated that school are more prepared. It's called the School of Applied Functional Medicine. If any of you are practitioners who are interested in that training, I highly, highly recommend it. I feel like now I can put anything into remission that comes my way. I'm just like blown away. Now, can I get everybody 100% repigmented? No, because if you ever had a scar that doesn't heal, the melanocytes on your skin may be just too damaged to heal. But if it's not too damaged, I can still get you a lot of pigment back. And I have had, like I said, a lot of success with this. So I'm very confident I can help people with it. And the problem with vitiligo is that it is an autoimmune disease. And once you get one autoimmune disease, you are actually 8 times more likely to get another autoimmune disease. So not to scare you, not to freak you out, but just to know that you're in the right group. I've seen a lot of vitiligo groups out there that are just all about acceptance, and that's great to accept. Don't get me wrong, that it's beautiful and my spots are beautiful, but yeah, they are beautiful. However, it's an autoimmune disease and your immune system is completely freaked out. And so you want to work on healing your gut. And people ask, is it your gut? Yes, your gut, but there's other things that have to be in place in order to get full remission. So I'll go through some of the kind of recipe that happens when you get autoimmune. So basically there's several components. One is enhanced intestinal permeability. You guys may have heard of leaky gut, and that's just about in every autoimmune disease, you're gonna find leaky gut. So I know some of you have probably worked with, taking L-glutamine or taking, doing some things to heal your leaky gut, eliminating certain foods, and these are all good measure. The other problem is there's usually something else going on in the gut. And I always, 100% of the time will do a DNA assay stool test for my clients who come to me with vitiligo. And this is a game changer because I can see what's going on in the microbiome. I can see if there's problems with digestion, problems with absorption, problems with inflammation, problems with parasites, pathogenic species, all kinds of things. I had a little boy come to me who had been to India. I was working with the parents with him, his food. It was just going straight through him. You could see food in his feces, unfortunately. No absorption. And he had a really bad case of vitiligo. So one of the things the first thing we worked on was we did a stool test, and it came up with 8 different potentially pathogenic species and 1 downright pathogen that was in his gut. So we had to work on rebalancing his gut and killing off the bad bacteria and building up the good bacteria. So there's a lot to it. And I like to really customize and know what I'm doing. So, so that's one thing that I always do. There's other tests that I always do as well, because gut is one part of it. Toxicity is another huge part of vitiligo, and people don't realize this at all. What you put on your skin, what you're using for your hair products, what you're using for your household products, what kind of carpeting you buy in your house, whether you're drinking from and eating from cans that have BPA, whether you're using Roundup on your lawn, these are all things that are toxic and contributing to your autoimmune activation. Your immune system freaks out from it. So that's something that we have to work on. We have to, you know, see what's going on there. And there are tests we can do for that as well to figure things out. But I recommend there's certain products that I use for personal care that, by the way, you can't buy them at Whole Foods. I used to think you could do that, but the ingredients in Mrs. Meyer's and Method and Burt's Bees and all these companies that I thought were safe are not safe. They still have toxic preservatives in them, and some toxic ingredients, endocrine disruptors, and immunotoxins in them. So, so there is a, if you go to my website in the store, jodiefranklin.com, you'll see a link for the personal care products that I recommend. They're all 100% free from all toxins. So that's one thing I recommend for my clients. That's just another one of the things. The other thing is what toxins you're having in your system. The average mother, unfortunately, when she has a baby, there are over 250 toxic elements found in the average umbilical cord blood, especially in the Western world, especially in the United States, but all over really, it's a real tragedy. So we have to, you know, as a society, really stop and think about what we're doing with the environment. I don't care what your political affiliation is. It's really, really important that we keep clean air, clean water, clean everything, and not, you know, not let up, unfortunately, regulations on mercury and things like that that are going on right now. So we have to look at that, and we have to fight that, and we have to clean up our environment, and we have to look at toxins like fluoride and toxins like arsenic and cadmium and all these other things. Mercury is a big one. The most, we're sitting here putting it in our light bulbs and putting it in our mouths for amalgam fillings. Don't go run out and get your amalgams pulled out, though. There's responsible ways to do that don't expose you to more mercury. So don't just act on anything that I'm saying. But I just want to let you know that toxicity is a huge part of it, and this is something I cover with my clients. So we look at the gut, we look at toxins. Another thing is food. You guys know, I know you're in this group and you follow and you see all the advice, but yeah, food is critical. And that's one of the problems with what was going on with me with my autoimmune activation. I was eating crap food. I mean, I thought it was healthy, you know, it was diet, but it wasn't healthy. It wasn't real food. So first and foremost, eating real food. Secondly, not eating the foods that are inflammatory. And you guys know, I do recommend gluten and dairy free for sure. But there's so many other things that you want to look at that, and everybody's individual. I found out that I have a ginger sensitivity. That's a bummer for me because I really love curry and I can't eat ginger because it causes a problem for me. It causes flare-ups. So there's things that we have to look at, and that's why I like to test and not guess with each individual. Or if you don't have the money to do the testing, you can try some eliminations. But there are ways of doing that and guiding you through that. So that's all something that I cover in my program. So foods, and you know, you could just imagine your immune system. Actually, a huge percentage, like 90% of your immune system resides in your gut. People think it's like, they don't know where your immune system is. It resides in your gut. Of course, that makes sense, right? Foreign stuff coming in, your immune system's going to be there seeing what's coming in and surveilling. So your immune system's job is to surveil. And if something is not right, it's going to attack. So you can imagine your body, you know, your immune system sentinel cells sitting there and waiting, and all of a sudden a Cool Ranch Dorito comes down, and it's just like, you know, hey Bob, what's going on here? What is this thing? And you know, they're just kind of communicating and trying to figure out what it is, and then you just keep eating those things, and they're just like, this is, you know, I think there's food in there, there's some corn, I think, but you know, what is all this other stuff? And eventually it just starts attacking. It starts attacking your cells, and you know, that's eventually it starts attacking your own cells. And in your case with vitiligo, it's attacking your melanocytes. That's a skin disease, you know, it's an autoimmune skin disease. If it's attacking your myelin sheath, that is MS, multiple sclerosis. If it's attacking your thyroid, that's Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. So it's all the same recipe. It's toxicity, crap food, and intestinal permeability. And the other big one is stress. Somebody asked that earlier today. Is stress an issue for autoimmune? Yes, stress is an issue. And you'll probably notice when you're more stressed that you flare more. Can be, I mean, but there's usually multiple factors, and that's why vitiligo is a tough one to crack, because it's not just one thing. There are a lot of things causing this, so we have to look at all the different issues. Now, I wanted to tell you guys a few other things. Let me just make sure I'm covering everything. Oh, so what I do for testing, people are asking me this. So I always do several tests, but the first thing I do is I look at everyday annual physical lab work, because I can tell a lot from this, even if everything your doctor orders it and everything is within reference range, right? Well, reference range represents 95% of the population, right? So are 95% of the people out there optimally healthy? And the answer is absolutely not. So we have to look at what else can we glean from this? What if you're towards the bottom of the reference range here, or you're towards the top here? These have clues for me as to what's going on in your system. So I can look at that lab work and I can say, gee, I'm looking at your white blood cells, I'm looking at your red blood cells, I'm looking at your lymphocytes, your neutrophils, your eosinophils, your basophils. I'm looking at these things and seeing, is it some kind of histamine response? Is it some kind of simmering infection? I can tell looking at these, even like I said, if everything says normal. So I can then say, okay, this is the test I want to order because I'm seeing this in your lab work. So I can really customize it for each person. So what's tricky about that is I'm offering a group program with a business partner of mine who actually has vitiligo. She's in full remission. You won't see any depigmented skin on her, but she's had it for many, many years, and she's in remission. She does the same thing I do. But so what we're doing for this program is we're going to be offering individual sessions as well, so we can review lab work with you. So everything's covered. But anyway, so we look at these labs. I usually order a DNA assay stool test. I order an organics acids test, or an ion, or a NutriVal test. Those are three kinds. They're all basically, either any of them are interchangeable. They give me different information. It just depends. Like if I'm suspecting certain things in one person, I might order one brand of that test versus another. But in general, if I have that information, I can glean a lot of information from that. It has to be a pretty recent test too, because things change. Sometimes I'll order a food sensitivity test to see what's going on, but there are a lot of food sensitivity tests out there. There's IgG, IgA, IgE. Your doctor might just order an IgE test, which is like, well, if you eat a peanut and you go into anaphylaxis, yes, that's IgE. That's a real visceral reaction, but there's more common reaction called IgG or IgA, even kind of more insidious. And so I sometimes order these tests, but some of them are not foolproof. So there's a brand that I like to use that actually has a complement, and it's more accurate than any of the other brands out there. So, but if you can't get your hands on that one, you could just try a regular, any kind of IgG test, IgA combo test, and that will usually tell you a lot. And then you need to know what to do with it. How long do you stay off the foods? How long do you need to? You know, so many variables, and it really depends. And I wish there was like a magic bullet I could give you guys, a magic pill that would just put everybody into remission, but it's not that easy. I'd be a gazillionaire if it was. You have to get to the root cause in each individual, because what's driving vitiligo in you is different from what's driving it in vitiligo for someone else in the group. It's different for every person. Are there commonalities? Yes. The recipe I gave you before are commonalities. So, so I hope that's helpful. Let me just see if there's anything else I want to say about that. Talked about that. Okay. So, So anyway, I wanted to answer some of the questions you guys had, and I'm just going to go back to the Facebook page for vitiligo. Oops, I just had it up there. So some of the questions, you guys have a ton of questions here. What kind of medicine do you practice? I think I covered that, you know, functional medicine, it's getting to the root cause of disease. Do you believe it all stems from the gut? Yes, some of it. I answered that one already, but that's not the only thing. It's not just the gut. If it was just the gut, then a lot of you would probably be in remission now because you've probably gone down that rabbit hole. But yeah, definitely some of it stems from the gut, and that's definitely an area we focus on. What treatment is this? So it's functional medicine. You can look at my website, jodyfranklin.com, look at some of the success stories there. I'm located near Boston, people are asking me, but I do work with people all over the world. It's harder for international people to work with them because getting the tests are not always easy. So I want to say to those of you who are not in the United States, if you're getting the tests, you want to call, you can call Genova Diagnostics and find out where the nearest testing center is in your area. I was talking to somebody from India earlier today who doesn't live anywhere near a testing site. So it's going to be very difficult. Some of my clients actually travel to go get the testing done. And I know it's prohibitive, and I'm hoping that it's open to the whole world soon. I mean, this needs to be available to everybody. This is the only way to get chronic diseases into remission, is to do functional medicine and do these tests, because you know, there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of investigating that needs to be done in order to figure this out. Okay. Does my treatment involve creams, products, foods, other? Good question, Jennifer. So I do recommend the non-toxic products, but you can certainly look for them. I give all my clients a list actually on that website, that on my website store, there's a list of ingredients to avoid in there. So you can look at that and try to find products that have that, especially those of you who don't live in the US, because I can't get you the products unless you want to pay the huge shipping cost to get it to you. So you can look at that list of ingredients, if any of your home products have that, and try to find products that don't, and try to find the cleanest products you can. But I don't require that at all. I just require that you stop using products that are toxic. Now, there are a lot of medications out there for vitiligo, topical creams and remedies and things like that. I don't use them. I don't usually recommend them. I've had some people use the Vitalax that want to try it. I have had varying degrees of success with that, but I will say that that you really need to address what's going on inside, because this is not a skin disease, although it it is, but it isn't. It's a disease of your immune system. So we have to address what's going on in your immune system. Why is your immune system mad? What is going on? It's both weak and aggressive at the same time. It sounds paradoxical. So it's like a cornered, wounded dog, where, you know, the dog will attack if it comes near, but it's weak, you know, so that's what it's doing. So we have to address that. And then, so nothing really topical is going to really cure it. It may give you some relief. Same with light therapy. That's another question that I saw on here. Do I use light therapy? So with some of my clients, that once they start repigmenting, that's when I say, go do the light therapy if you want. But to do it light therapy from the beginning, that is not root cause resolution, right? That's just helping the repigmentation. But if you stop the light therapy, it's just going to depigment. You're not putting it into remission. You're not calming your immune system down. You're not preventing other autoimmune diseases by doing light therapy. Can it be beneficial? Absolutely. And I'm not against it. If that's what you're using, it's fine. There's no wrong way to do this. But my approach is getting to the root cause, finding out, because, you know, something is going on. And I'm not saying I'm against vitiligo. If you find it beautiful, that's fine. But I am saying something is causing this. And I really am a true believer of getting to the root cause. I've helped hundreds of people put their diseases into remission, chronic diseases, and it's possible. It's just, you have to figure it out. There's a lot, it's almost like a rocket launch sequence where you have to have all the keys turned in order to get that. We call it the tacks. I know my business partner, Lisa, who was doing this program with me, calls it the stool. You sit on a stool that has all these tacks on it, all right, and they're facing up. And you remove one of the tacks, let's say that's leaky gut, and we feel the leaky gut. Are you still in pain? Yeah, maybe a little slightly less pain, but you still have all those other tacks, right? We have to remove all the tacks in order for you to feel no pain in that case, in that metaphor, and obviously no getting the pigment back. So everything has to be in place, and you have to get out of the way and allow your body to heal. So it takes time. So that's the other thing, is not giving up, because sometimes, I mean, I've had people that are like 5 months in and they're just like, when is this ever going to happen? And I'm just like, hang in there, hang in. It's just, it takes time. I mean, some people, it happens quicker because maybe they're younger, maybe they just got diagnosed. It's not a lot of damage to the melanocytes, and they do everything I say, and they do all the testing, and we get lucky and find everything right away. And within 3 or 4 months, they start seeing pigment, and it's like, hallelujah, that's like the best case scenario. I'm working with a client now that I've been working with over a year, and her son has not seen repigmentation yet. We've stopped the depigmentation for the most part, and my heart goes out to her because there's a lot of issues with him. I mean, what part of the problem is we didn't run the stool test right away. We waited because he had a earlier stool test that he had done a while back, and I went by the results of that, and I'm smacking my head for it because you know, things had changed a lot. And so when I got the new stool test results, I said, oh, okay, this is what's going on. So that's one of the things, you know, we have to, getting fresh lab work is really important if we can get it as well. Okay, let's see, other questions. After eliminating all gluten due to celiac diagnosis, and there's the example, not one, but 2 autoimmune diseases. Celiac is autoimmune, vitiligo is autoimmune. So you got 2 there. What additional steps in the diet need to be addressed to see repigmentation? So there's a lot of steps that we do, but for you, I would, especially with the celiac, I would eliminate dairy 100%, and even for you, grains 100%, all grains. With celiac, your gut lining is completely decimated. So you're going to need to repair your gut lining in a huge way, and never ever even a crumb of gluten. I mean, it is going to be kryptonite for you. So so you need to avoid those things. Casein, the protein in milk, is very similar molecularly to gluten. So you want to stay away from that as well. And a lot of people think, well, I'll just do lactose-free products. No, don't do that, because casein, the protein in the milk, is similar to gluten, and it's going to do the same thing to your gut lining. So yeah, those are some food recommendations. And then there's so much more, Kelly. We got to find out why your immune system's doing this, and it's attacking the endothelial lining in your gut. You know, so we got to figure out why your immune system's doing that to both your melanocytes and the gut lining. So you know, so you're always going to have your autoimmune disease, vitiligo. You're always going to have celiac disease. It doesn't get reversed, but it's called remission. It's called not having any symptoms. So I have been virtually, I've been symptom free from my urticaria for about 12 years, pretty much 100% in remission for the past 3.5 years. But I did have something, gosh, just a couple of weeks ago, and I was so upset because I actually had a flare, and I was like, what is going on with me? I was traveling and had some that I was allergic to that I ate, and it flared. It's amazing. So amazing to be in remission. What testing do I recommend? I think I went through the testing. There are some other tests that I do sometimes for toxicity. Like I said, heavy metal toxicity is often implicated in vitiligo. Sometimes there's mold toxicity. We do a mycotoxin test. Sometimes there's you know, it just depends what I see in the everyday lab work, whether or not we have to order those tests, or whether or not we can just use that lab work and hypothesize and say, this looks like it could be mold toxicity. And based on what, you know, you were living in a home that had mold, or you were living in a climate, or you traveled, or something happened. I had a client that had bought a car when he was 16 that had been in a flood, and he was never the same after that. He was in his 30s and he was a mess. So we found out it was definitely mold toxicity. He was very sensitive to mold, and that's what we had to work on. So so he's much better now. He's feeling great. As far as, let's see, any other questions here? I think we talked about some of these already. Have I had any luck with cases that are over 20 years old? Yes, that man, I think I mentioned earlier, has had it for many years. I've worked with a lot of people that have had it for years. The woman, Adriana, who's had it 25 years or so, and she got major pigment back. So small children. Now, small children, there's, Courtney, you had asked, there are other considerations with children. The problem is some of the herbal things that I do, there are supplements and things that I do to get you balanced. You don't have to stay on them for life. They're just to get you, it's like a therapeutic portion of the treatment. So they can't take some of the herbs. They're just not safe for kids under 5. So there may be some other considerations that we can do. There are workarounds with that, but we have to be careful because their systems are different for sure. But I've worked with, probably at least 15, 16, 18 children with vitiligo and remission, and got them into remission. So in various states of remission, like I said, usually, I mean, can I get everybody 100% there? Like I said, no, but if I can get people to stop depigmenting and get 60 or 70 or 80% of their pigment back, they're usually pretty happy. But I have to be honest, you know, I may not, I can't promise you anything, but what I can say is that I've had a lot of experience with this, and I worked with it a lot, and I know what to look for, and I know what to see, and I know what nutrient insufficiencies there usually are, and I know how to improve methylation. I know that was someone else's question about methylation. I know about genetic SNPs. I actually have genetic SNP myself, MTHFR, which causes me to not methylate well. So that was one of the drivers for my autoimmune skin disease. So many factors. There's so much to this, and that's why you know, make sure the practitioner that you're working with, if you go to a functional practitioner, knows what they're doing, and ask them if they work with vitiligo. Have they gotten vitiligo to go into remission? Because it's rare, but it happens. So you just have to get the right person to work with. And I'm actually delighted to let you guys know that I am going to be offering a group program with my partner Lisa and some of our other staff that is going to address vitiligo, and we are going to be doing one-on-ones for the individual lab work. You will have to purchase lab work. Some of it's covered by insurance, some of it is not. Depends on your insurance. It's probably easier if you're in the US to work with you on this program. It's called Vanishing Vitiligo, and I will put the link below if you're interested, but I'm here to just help you out and give you this information, so don't feel like you have any obligation to do the program. I have a few people signed up now. We're closing it out in a, to look at the date on it, but look at the page. It'll tell you more information about that. But I'm really excited. This is the first time I've done a group because my practice is full and I really can't take on any more individual clients with vitiligo. There's a wait list to work with me. But I figured this is a way I can get a big group of people, not big, because I don't think we're going to take more than, you know, 6 to 8 people, but get them in the group and work with them and have individual attention as well as group attention. So it's a 6-month program, and there's more information you can look at and ask me questions below if you're interested. You can just put questions in the thread below if you have any questions on it. You have a child who, Amanda has a child who fears needles. Ooh, I feel for you. I have a daughter with the same thing. We actually have to give her Ativan to get her to do blood work. But yeah, that's a tough one. It is good to get some CBC, CMP, vitamin D, RBC magnesium, and maybe RBC zinc or RBC copper, but all those, if you can get those markers coming to me beforehand, that's really helpful. Can I work in the absence of lab work? Yeah, I mean, we can do an organic acids test is a urine test. The stool test is a stool test. So we can work with those, but it really would help me to have more information to have the blood work. I worked with a 2-year-old recently. Her veins were so small that we couldn't even get a blood sample. But, you know, you got to work with what you can. So, you know, sometimes it may be worth it just to use, like, ask for a prescription for Ativan and just have the kid go in kind of half drunk on Ativan and get the blood work done, have him lie down, or so he or she have him lie down so he doesn't pass out. But anyway, let's see. It looks like Amanda's telling me specific stool sample, parasites. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Parasites, yeast overgrowth, Helicobacter, Borderline vitamin D, thyroid. Yeah, thyroid's a big issue too. And that's sometimes we do a thyroid test because when you have a sluggish thyroid, you're going to have sluggish clearance from your liver. You're going to be more likely to store toxins. Sometimes there's constipation involved. There's a bunch of things that we have to work on. So that's often a problem. But Amanda, these are all things that I work on with you. It's all, I see parasites all the time with vitiligo. So that's something that we can definitely address. Jenny's asking if I'm finding low glutathione levels, oxidative stress, to be a component. Yes. Yes. Glutathione is the most powerful antioxidant you have, and it is critical for methylation. So yes, we find low methylation, low glutathione almost universally with vitiligo. So this is something we need to address. And it just depends the extent of the methylation issue. If there's a lot, sometimes we go straight to acetylglutathione. It tends to be expensive, but sometimes we don't need that. Sometimes it's just a matter of the building blocks for glutathione that they need, precursors, or you know, even just helping with liver clearance and things like that. So there's a lot of factors we look at with that, but definitely something we see a lot. Jean says stress. Yes, we talked about that. Angela says best way to determine the root cause. Yeah, I think I went through that, but yeah, lots of testing. Unfortunately, it's not for the weak. I wish these tests were cheap. I think that this is the way insurance should go, because they're paying for all these medications that aren't really addressing the root cause, but they don't generally cover functional medicine, and it's very unfortunate. Something to lobby your insurance company for, something insurance companies are looking at for sure, and some of them do cover the testing. Okay, and then I think Angela's asking about the light. Again, I think I answered that. Okay. Katie says she feels she has far more depigmentation than what is curable. I don't think it matters the extent of your depigmentation. I'm so sorry to hear that. But I will say that once you get to the root causes and you address all of them and you get out of the way and let your body heal, it's very possible you could get all your pigment back. It's happened. I've seen it happen. So don't give up with it, and just know that it is possible, no matter how much depigmentation you have. Again, if you've had it for many, many years, sometimes your fingers, those areas are harder. Some areas are harder to repigment, but new depigmentation is usually pretty, you were usually able to get the repigmentation when there's a new case. But anyway, I hope that was helpful, y'all. So Jennifer's saying hers went into overdrive in her late 40s. And what's interesting about that, Jennifer, is we talk about toxicity, right? Well, what happens in your 40s, first of all, your progesterone levels come down naturally, right, when we get into perimenopause. And progesterone is really protective of your immune system. So one of the things I look at is estrogen dominance over progesterone. That sometimes we do a Dutch hormone test to figure out what's going on there, or any kind of hormone test to see if that's what's implicated. The other thing that happens is we start to lose bone density as we get older. Now, if you lose bone density, what happens is you're going to get you have toxicity like mercury or lead that is stored preferentially in your bones and fat tissue, and it will start to release in your system, and you know, that can take off as well. So sometimes you have the perfect storm in your 40s and 50s that it can really become more of a problem. Victoria's interested in Indianapolis. I can work anywhere. I work remotely. And again, my practice is full right now. You can get on the wait list to work with me, or you can join my group program if you're interested. I'll put the information in the comments below this thread. How do you find somebody, Teresa wants to know, who does holistic practice and diagnosis? That's hard. Like I said, I would look for someone who's graduated the School of Applied Functional Medicine. I am also a teaching assistant there, so I help the people that are in the school to help them with patients and clients who they're struggling with. So they meet with me one-on-one and I help them. How How do I find someone who does whole? Okay, so I think that is it for the questions. I really, really hope this was helpful to all of you. I don't really have more comments, but I'm not seeing them, unfortunately. So I will try to jump on and answer them at some point over the next couple of days, but just know that the program, I think, is till July, I want to say 6th. You can sign up. It starts on the 15th. We do have a minimum. We want to have 6 people, a minimum in the program. So I hope that some of you do decide to join the program, and you know, we can put the success stories in this group for those of you who might want to do it again another time. But I'm really excited to be offering this. So I hope this was helpful to you all. I hope I answered a lot of your questions. Let me know if you have any more questions, and I'm happy to jump on anytime in this group to help you all as just public service to help you. I wish somebody had helped me, you know, 30 years ago with the hives all over my body. So anyway, take care, you all, and I hope to see you in my group. Bye-bye.